Refreshing my page. Just checking we have pictures. Yes. All right. Good. Okay. We'll wait for a couple of people to jump on. Usually they take about a minute or two. Meanwhile, let's
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, yeah, no worries.
Meanwhile, let's talk about the situation. You're in Jakarta now. You are in Jogja, I believe, right?
No, I moved to Jogja
Okay.
to play football there, but at the moment I'm in Bali.
Oh, you're still in Bali. Okay.
Yeah, because I have my house in Bali. We have a
Okay.
house in Bali. We had to move, of course, to Jogja for my new club.
Yeah.
But yeah, due to this condition we are in, we moved back to Bali.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Let's kickstart the show. We've got people just joining us. So if you're
Mhm.
ready, let's go.
Let's go.
All right, we are live on Facebook, we are live on Twitter, we are also live on YouTube, and I'm glad to welcome one of Indonesia's biggest football stars on my show, Sports Stories with Sasi, Irfan Bachdim.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hi Irfan, how you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, no, great. Thank you very much. I know you had to quickly run off because your wife's also doing live on TikTok, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, she's live on TikTok, and I'm normally behind the camera live on TikTok.
Okay.
But there was a little miscommunication with me and my wife, so yeah, we scheduled both a live stream on the same time.
All right, man. Thank you so much for taking time. What I want to get this
Anytime.
interview today is a lot of people know you from afar, especially I think in Singapore, there are a lot of football fans know you, but from far, they follow you on Instagram,
Mhm.
they follow you on Twitter. But today, the next hour or so, what I want to do is that really go under the personality of Irfan Bachdim because you're one of the biggest football stars in a long time, right? In a long time to come out of Indonesia, a whole host of players. Singapore football fans don't really know too much about Indonesian players because maybe of language and stuff like that. But what I want to do is that,
Mhm.
peel back the personality behind you. Where do you start and where you're right now? Because I know just before we went live,
Sure.
we were just talking about where you are. You have actually moved to PSS Sleman. We'll talk about that later. But you still live in Bali, beautiful Bali.
Yes, because I bought my house here in Bali with my family. Uh, because yeah, it's a place where we feel really home. I mean, we have traveled a lot. We've been in different kind of countries: Japan, Thailand, and here in Indonesia. And Bali felt like home, and especially also for my kids. So we got a house here, and yeah, now due to the conditions we are in, I'm back in Bali.
Well, it's not a bad place to be isolated, isn't it? In a nice villa in Bali.
That's that's why we chose to go back to Bali instead of staying in Jogja. Nothing wrong with Jogja or Sleman, but it's just yeah.
It's
I guess everyone will agree in Bali it's easier.
I just want to say
So
thank you to a couple of the people who have just joined us. Tiffany Tan, of course, Fairuz Saleh, Mohammad Zainuddin, Helmi, and also Mazhar Ahmad. They have just joined us live. I'm speaking to one of
yes, thank you.
Indonesia's biggest stars, Irfan Bachdim. Irfan, I want to go back in time. I want to talk about the beginning. I want to talk about your parents. Of course, you came from a footballing family. Your dad, because you have mixed heritage. Your father is Indonesian and your
Yeah,
mom is Dutch.
true. Yeah.
And let's talk.
Yes,
Let's
true.
let's talk about your family because you come from a footballing family. Your brother Fardi. First of all, I'd like to thank him for making this interview possible. Fardi and I have known each other for a long
Yeah.
time. Really cool guy. I hope he's tuning in to watch this. But talk about your family a little bit. Your dad and your uncles. They all played
Yeah.
football, right?
Yeah, well, my dad played football, and yeah, since I was small, he brought me always to the training to watch the training from Ajax. So yeah, it was just always football to keep us busy. Yeah, it was one thing what we needed, and that was a ball. So yeah, it all started with my dad.
I want to talk about your growing up days because you were born in Amsterdam. And Amsterdam
Yeah.
is very, very famous, made very famous by Ajax Amsterdam, of course. And when
Mhm.
you started playing, what was your early childhood like? What was your early memories of maybe, say, football?
Yeah, we grew up in a small city outside Amsterdam. And yeah, my early memories were just like I just said, that we will always go to the training from Ajax, watch them train. At that time, it was Louis van Gaal was the coach. You have players like Danny Blind, Rijkaard, Vinny D. George. So it was the golden era. It was the golden era from 1995. So that's where my dad always brought me to the training. And there I saw, for me, the big stars. I was still too young to have like an idol at that time. But I just love to see them play. Love to go there with my dad and watch the training. And my brother who always joined and collect some autographs.
But am I safe to say that you're a Ajax Amsterdam fan then?
100%.
But let's talk about yourself. You got involved with football in an amateur club as we are gone from a very young
Yes.
age. I believe your brother Fardi was already there, and that's how you got involved with that.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother was already playing there. Yeah, I always loved to play with my dad. So I always joined him every Saturday mornings to the games when I was still a little boy. And that's how I started to play football. At the age I was 4 years old. At that time, I think you had to be 6 years old to join the club. But also that club saw that that I could play football, and I was lucky enough to join on a very very early age.
At 4 years old, was it purely because you had the talent, or your parents just wanted you to kick around? Because in Holland, I remember, because I spent some time in Holland. We talk about that later. But in Holland, football is almost like a culture, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Also in school, every boy played football, even though they couldn't play or they didn't have talent. Some. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to do a team sport when you're young, and yeah, football is just the number one sport we have in Holland. So yeah, it was. Yeah, it's very easy to grow to play there.
I want to invite more people onto the show. Thank you for joining us. Manoj, Kalwani, Justin Madhavan, Sivaraj, and also Isa Halim. Thanks all of you for joining us live here on Facebook, of course on YouTube and also on Twitter. I'm speaking to Indonesia's one of the biggest football stars in Indonesia, Irfan Bachdim. We're just talking about his early days because let's talk about the time that you actually joined Ajax, because it is, I believe that, in that part of the world, if you make it to Ajax as a young boy, you're almost, I would say, 50% there in terms of your football career, right?
Nah, I mean, I've seen a lot of good players. I mean, it's tough because you're at the age I was when I joined. I was 10 years old,
Okay.
and it's tough. It's hard. You get a report if you're not good. It's not. They don't only focus on football, but also in school. If you're not doing good in school, they will kick you out. So you could play amazing football, but if you didn't do your thing in school, they will still kick you out. So it was not. You're 50% there, but if you made it in the academy, they will learn you really the basics, what will help you in the future for the rest of your life. So if you see the league in Holland, I don't know exactly the numbers, but I'm confident enough to say every club in the Eredivisie will have at least one player who played in the youth of Ajax. So that's how big the Ajax school is.
It's important because a lot of people watching it might be parents and stuff like that. As you know, in Indonesia, Singapore, they don't really pay the football schools, right? And the academies don't really pay attention to education. If you're good, you play.
Yes.
But it's very interesting you brought up because it's not only about talent, it's also about staying in school. And
Yeah.
can you tell us why is it that the Dutch teams are so particular about a child staying in school? Is it to do with the wholesome development of the child, you think?
Yeah, the development of the child, discipline, what is very, very important. You cannot say just, hey, coach. You talk with two words, Mister, and then you say the last name. So it's discipline. It's everything you need. You cannot. Yeah, it's just a whole different mentality, and it was part of me growing up, and it's how I was raised in my family and in the club. So it just really became me. It's my like DNA now, how they teach the things in a football school, not only for football but also outside of football.
Let's talk about couple of your famous teammates, because you played with Ryan Babel, right? It was
Yeah,
around the same
true.
time.
Ryan Baum.
How
Yeah.
old was he then when you were with Ajax?
He was older, and he always played also in a higher team.
Okay.
And I was young, but sometimes I joined a higher team. And when we played like a good team, like Feyenoord or PSV, he will come back to his age, and I will still be up in one age up. So that's how we got to play sometimes with each other. But like Daley Blind, yeah, he was 2 years younger, but he always played up. So we played together as well when we were young.
Now that you are in Indonesia and you see a lot of youth football there, how would you rank when you were at the time you were in Ajax and also the Dutch football in general, and you look at what's happening in Indonesia at the moment? How would you compare that?
I think it's with all due respect, I think you can't compare.
Yeah.
I mean, in Holland, it's so easy to play football because every little tiny city has a football club. Like my amateur club was SV Argon. You can play there no matter what. So it's so easy. And here you don't have the academy. So, and that's the thing I'm really concerned about. And what I really want to do here in Indonesia is to start an academy. Because it's just so important, not for the kids, but if you want to reach a certain level with the national team, with the seniors, you have to start from a really, really young age.
Let's talk about the time, because you only spent about 3 seasons with Ajax, and then you had to move. Was it heartbreaking for you to finally hear that your time at Ajax had come to an end?
No, to be honest, it was not really heartbreaking. I was lucky enough that my parents gave me the news before. So the club will talk with your parents first. And they never expected anything from me when I was young. So that was a good thing, because a lot of players who are playing in Ajax, a lot of parents will think, okay, my son gonna be the next Van Basten, or, they have high expectations. And my parents never had that. And they just said, okay, you go back to your amateur club and you're going to have to enjoy football again. Because to be honest, it's also not easy to play for a big club as Ajax in the academy, because you have to sacrifice a lot as well. Because you cannot play in school, you cannot play on the streets, and what a kid loves to do.
Yeah.
And it's not allowed from the club. So with that dropping out of the academy of Ajax, I get like my childhood. I don't want to say I got it back, but I was free again. So it was not really, of course it's heartbreaking, and you would like to stay and make it all the way, but that's only for such a small percentage that you can make it all the way. So I was fine.
It's interesting you say that, because in Singapore, a lot of the players, they play for club, they play for academy, they play for school, they play for the national team, they play in every competition. And it's interesting that you brought up to say that when you play for Ajax, you don't play for anybody else. You can't play on the streets, you can't play school football.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that makes a big difference in developing a player? Because you've been through that system, right? And you said, oh, well, I've got my childhood back in some ways. But let's look at the positive of why teams like Ajax make that happen. Do you think it's a good or bad move?
I think I have no right of saying if it's good or bad, because the facts say that it is good. Because if you see what Ajax did in the last few years in the Champions League with a lot of guys coming from their academies, so I think it's fair enough to say that they are doing a good thing.
When you went back to SV Argon, your amateur club, your neighborhood club or your town club, you became the top scorer there, playing from midfield. And how was your mindset at the time? How old were you then? What, you were 12, 13 at the time, or
13? 13.
Yeah, at 13 you were scoring goals, a lot of goals from midfield. I'm pretty sure that you caught the eye of some clubs there. What was your mindset like? Do you remember much when you were 13?
Yeah, I still remember pretty much. And I was a defensive midfielder, because in Holland we play 4-3-3, and I was the number 4, and I move up in midfield. But in defense, when we lost the ball, I was a defender.
I could never imagine that you were a defensive midfielder. You looked at as you're always going forward.
Because I was the one who was building up the game.
Okay.
So they give me the balls, and it was an amateur club. So I was, it was not to be arrogant or cocky, but it was, for me, it was pretty much easy. But at that time, I didn't really focus at all on other clubs, on other professional clubs, even though I hear that they wanted to have me, and I just really wanted to enjoy back then. So I was not really focused on becoming a professional or something.
At 13, how did you do in school? Because at 13, you needed to be in school. Were you a bright student in school, or your mind was just set to play football?
I was an active one.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to keep focus. So I was not a bad student. I was never annoying, but I couldn't sit still. If somebody had to talk too long, my mind will go somewhere else, looking outside, left and right, doing other things I had to do. But was I a smart kid? I was not a super smart kid, but I did my thing and I made it through school.
Let's talk about next, because the next move was quite interesting. You moved to Utrecht, because they're a big club in Holland as well. You went to Utrecht. How did that come about?
Yeah, that's a funny story, because at that age I was 14, turning 15. And you play on Saturday mornings, and then scouts from different clubs are watching you, and they are coming to your parents and like, oh, we are interested to have your son maybe for a trial to come. And we never got a letter. They tell me now that the club never gave the letter, because they will send the letters to the club, and the club never gave it to me. But then there was a talent day. It's like you can sign in and you can train, and then the scouts from this particular club was FC Utrecht. Gave this trial thingy.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to go there. And my mom said, no, you don't. Because they told us before they will send the letter. They never did. So why should you go to a club who promised you things, but they never could do it? I said, no, Mama, I really want to do it. So I signed myself in. And then I started to playing first with the under 14s, because at the time I was 14. They moved me during that day. They moved me already up to under 17. And I did well. And I went for holidays. I think, if I can remember good, we went to Turkey. And we came back from holidays, and there was a letter that I was accepted, and if I wanted to come to FC Utrecht.
And that was the under 14 team, or you already made the under 17s?
There I went to FC Utrecht. I went to under 15.
15s, yeah. And
yeah,
when you compare, of course, Ajax and Utrecht, what was the difference there? Was there any difference, if there was any?
Oh yeah, there was a big difference. Utrecht was more like like a family club. Everybody was very warm, welcoming, not that much discipline, but still good quality football. So it was, you could say a good amateur club. Yeah, or the mentality of, it's also not fair to say amateur club. It was just like a family club. Everybody was really welcoming. It was not, yes, sir, Mr. This, yes. So it was good. It was a really nice and warm club. And I think for me, a good one.
You spent quite a few years there, didn't you?
If I'm not mistaken, I spent there 5 years.
5 years,
yeah, from the academy under 15 until seniors.
Yeah. How many did you make the senior team? Did you, from what I see from your stats, you played one game in the senior team?
Yeah, I played one. I was 1 year with the first team.
Okay.
At that time, Van Hanegem, a big legend in Holland, was the head coach. And I played one game, but the whole year I always trained with him. I was a lot of games. I was on the bench. So, yeah, I was 1 year in the senior team.
How tough was it for you to break through into the senior team? Because they were in the Eredivisie, right, at that time?
Yeah. It was tough, really tough, because it was kind of old school with a lot of old players who were really tough for the young ones. The young guys had to do everything, carry the balls, carry the goals. They were hard on you. And I was lucky to have one senior guy in my team, or two, I have to say, two senior guys who were really nice and gave me a feeling, a good feeling. And from that, you can build your confidence. So you really had to earn your stripes in the first team back then. Nowadays, in the first team are a lot of young guys. But back then, when I was coming, they were also already 31, 32. So it were old guys in the first team. So it was tough, but it was a good experience.
After you left Utrecht, you went to another team, Haarlem, and
Yeah.
they were an amateur club.
No, this was the second league.
Second league, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And again, the exit from FC Utrecht, how hard was it for you? Because you were within striking distance of making it as a pro, and then all of a sudden that was taken away from you. Now you had to go one down into the first division. How hard was it, and what was your mentality back then to approach this?
Yeah, that was tough. That was really tough because I really wanted to become a football player. Because when I turned 17, I told my mom I don't want to go to school anymore. And actually, we still had to go to school until he was 18. I said, Mom, I want to focus. If I don't get a contract at FC Utrecht, I will promise you I will go back to school. I will stop. And at that time, I get a contract at FC Utrecht. So I was a professional then. And then that you had to leave, that was tough. And going to a lower league was good for me. I had a good coach. I played all games until then. The problem was until they got bankrupt.
All right. Okay.
And that was
in the same season. That was the same season you were there?
Yeah. We played 16 games during that season. I played all the games. And they got bankrupt.
And what happened next? And because you went back to your amateur club back in your town.
Yeah, I went back to my town. What is a good amateur club? What play high amateur level back then. And I said to my mom, I said, okay, football is done for me. I'm finished. I didn't make it. I have to accept it. I will go back to school. So I signed in to go back to school until I got a Facebook message from people in Indonesia who wanted to organize a charity match. And I was like, this is probably some spam or anything.
Yeah.
But then they also sent it to my dad.
Okay.
And my dad saw this as an opportunity to go for free to his country because we didn't have always the money to go. So it was like once a 4 years. We could go back to Indonesia once in 3-4 years.
So before this, did you go back to Indonesia? Before this, have you gone back to Indonesia?
Yes, I have, actually. Because before I moved to Haarlem in the second league, I went for trials in Indonesia.
Okay. You went to Persib and Persija?
Yeah.
And what happened there?
Persib just rejected me. They said I was not good enough. Persija, the coach wanted to have me. Only the management was like, okay, no, this guy's too young, too small, cannot handle the Indonesian league.
Yeah.
So I went back.
Okay.
So they rejected me, went back to Haarlem. Haarlem, got bankrupt. And then it was going back to school and, to the amateur club until that Facebook message came where my dad thought, these are free tickets to Indonesia where I can see my family. So, it actually worked. We got our tickets. We went to Indonesia. I played the charity match. And the first charity match we played in Malang. And I scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
And at that time, the coach of a small club in Malang was in the stands.
Yeah, that was
and he
Timo,
came
right?
straight away.
It was Timo, right?
Yeah, Timo Schönemann.
Yeah, Schönemann. Yeah, okay.
And he came direct to the hotel and he said, Irfan, I would really like you to play here. And at that time, I already had the Indonesian passport. Like when I was born, I had it because I chose to be Indonesian. And so it made it easy for me. And I was like, can I do it? Away from home, never been out of the house, never lived on my own. So that was the risk I took. And that changed my life.
Yeah, because you then signed for Persema, right? Persema Malang.
Yeah, Persema Malang, yeah.
Yeah, how did that happen? Because at that point in time, Indonesia had 2 leagues, didn't they? They had
No, at that time, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So
this was 2010. They still had one league, the ISL.
Okay. And
so that was good.
And who was from? You were there as a of course, as an Indonesian player, you're not a foreigner because you had the passport.
Yeah.
And Malang, as we know, it's a very passionate city. They have Arema Malang.
Really,
And
really
then you have
passionate.
Persema. How was that rivalry, and how did you adapt to life in Indonesia? Because even though you are part Indonesian, you've been there before, but living in Indonesia is a completely different thing, and especially in Malang, right?
It was a big change because I can remember if we came for holidays to Indonesia, I always wanted to go back to Holland because I wanted to play football with my friends, and we went to a country I didn't spoke the language, only visiting family, going from the other city to the other city, and all I wanted to do was I wanted to go back to Holland to play football. And these holidays, because it's once in the 4 years, took like 6 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. So I always wanted to go back. So the funny thing is when I signed with Persema, they start making a bet in my family's house, like, okay, in how many weeks, days, Irfan is crying and coming back. So I guess everybody lost that bet, and I stayed. And it was hard. It was Malang. Persema was the smallest club. Arema, I think everyone knows, it's one of the biggest in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So even if we played a game and it was not against Arema, it was just against the other Indonesian team, Arema supporters will come to support the opponent.
Yeah.
So they won't support us as we are from the same city, but they support. So every game was a away game eventually.
I want to talk to you
So-
because you were already on the radar of the national team. It was this the time where Fopadahan was the coach of Indonesian national team?
No. This
is
Volendam is way before. Yeah, that was
Okay.
when I still was in Utrecht.
Or you were in Utrecht? Because I want to talk about that because I spent maybe, I think, 6 weeks in Hervin, and Fopadahan was the coach at that time. Amazing trainer. In 3 days, he told me what's wrong with me, something that my coaches in 10 years couldn't tell me. But it was when I saw that Fopadahan signed with Indonesia, I was saying this is probably one of the best coaches they ever signed. And what happened there? Because he wanted you to come and play for Indonesia, the under-23s, because Indonesia qualified for the Asian Games.
Yes, correct, in Qatar.
Yeah, in Qatar, and you declined that, did you?
No, I didn't decline.
Okay.
I played.
Oh, you played. Okay.
But not the SEA Games. But I joined the training camp.
Yeah.
What was in Holland. But at the time I was still in FC Utrecht under 17. Yeah, because at that time I was 16 years old, I guess.
Yeah.
And right before we'll move to Qatar, I got an injury with a game with FC
that's what it
Utrecht,
was.
so
Okay,
I couldn't join.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your time in Persema because you were there for 2 years? What was that experience like?
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah, because you were there from 2010 to 2012.
12, yeah.
How was that like? I mean, now you are in the Indonesian league. It's very different from the Dutch league. And what did you learn about the Indonesian league?
That is very physical.
Yeah.
That it's a lot of tech. Back then, it was even crazier than it is now.
Now.
Some crazy tackles. It was a lot of it was a lot of fighting. And if you're fit, you can survive. And especially with the heat, for me, was a big thing as well. But I don't know. It was. Yeah, it's a whole different mentality as well, and a whole different way of playing.
Because that's the moment where you became you almost became like a rock star in Indonesia, didn't you?
Yeah. People like to say it like that, but I think it changed my future. Yeah, definitely.
Because I remember going back and forth from Indonesia, and everybody was talking about you. At the time, I was working with an agency, and we had clients like Pocari Sweat and all that stuff, and they would all talk about Irfan. So is that your kids in the background?
Yeah, my son.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that change your life? Because now you've come from Holland, where literally I would say you're just one of the players, to coming to Indonesia, where you are the player, like you are the face of Indonesian football for a long time, right? On the billboards, in the advertisement. How did you get used to that? Because now you're in the spotlight. Let's not forget as well, the media in Indonesia, they look at everything, right? They look at
Yeah,
everything.
they do.
They look at you, and also didn't, I mean, really helped you because your wife is a huge celebrity as well.
Yeah. Now, for me, I think that is a good thing I have from being half Dutch, because in Holland they are all really down to earth. So in my feeling, I've never really changed in my behavior, and was just really grateful for what I got and what I have. Of course, you might change a bit, but that's, I think, the process of becoming older. But yeah, I was always just very grateful and very happy. And for me, until then, like you say now, it's a weird thing for me to say it's a superstar, it's a rock star. It's just, yeah, for me, it's just me who enjoys the game with the love of football and the love for Indonesia.
When did you find it hard to deal with the newfound fame in the sense that you were in the spotlight everywhere you went? Was it hard for you to deal with it, or was it easy? How did you, what was your mindset like? Because it's not easy. I mean, your life changed very quickly.
Yeah,
You, as you know, you're Dutch, half
yeah,
Dutch, or you spent your lifetime in Dutch. I mean, your growing up days in Holland. You have a different way of life. You look at life very differently
yeah.
in Holland, and then now all of a sudden, every day in the news, in the papers, and stuff like that. Was your mindset? How did you manage all of that?
Yeah, it could be really tough sometimes, because sometimes if you just want to go for dinner with your wife, because back then I didn't have kids, a lot of people asking for photos while eating. So sometimes I got like a second or two, I got annoyed, and then I was like, no, why you're annoyed? It's part of what you have done, and you have to be grateful for it. It's part of the job. But yeah, definitely sometimes if I could go to the mall, or I didn't have to go to the mall, I would prefer just to stay at home, because it could get a bit crazy. But it's, yeah, it was just still part of the job, and you have to be grateful, because of, if I didn't have them, I will also not have the future I have now. So I'm just really grateful for that.
Because I heard one story, confirm whether it's true. Because apparently you and another friend that we know, you went to the cinema. They had to lock down the cinema because you were there in Jakarta or something like that.
Nah, lockdown. It got a lot. A lot of people came. Yeah,
They came for you, right?
yeah,
When you
yeah.
tell
It was a bit. It was a bit.
when you tell your friends in Holland and family in Holland that how big you were in Indonesia, do they understand the magnitude of how big you are?
I will never tell them. I will never tell them by myself. But my two best friends came from Holland to Indonesia, and they saw it with their own eyes. And then they were like, "Whoa, this is crazy! This is just a simple guy from a small town, and now he's here, the big man." It was weird for them, but it was, yeah. And in Holland, they started to think like I was the big man because of my Twitter followers. Because back then it was only Twitter, no Instagram yet,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
So that's where everybody started like, "Wow, what's going on? How come you have so many followers?" Blah blah blah. And then they also read the stories in the media and stuff, and that's how they got to know me there.
Talking about that, because you got 4.8 million followers on Twitter. How many you got on Instagram?
On Instagram, 900,
900,
900 something. Yeah.
900,000. Yeah, so that's massive numbers. Have you got any weird requests or messages on this Twitter and Instagram that you can share publicly, of course?
No, to be honest, not really weird. But back then in Twitter, it was it's not a weird experience. But I wrote something. It was during the AFF, and I think I posted a photo of me eating a Haagen-Dazs, something. And I was in my room in Jakarta, and I got a call from the lobby. Yeah, you have a package, a present here down. And I went down, and I got 3 Haagen-Dazs, like the big jars, 2 big jars. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy. And then I went to the mall after the AFF with my brother, and I came into a store, and they just gave me free stuff. Like, oh, here, take this, take this. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, this is, and that were the things like, it was just crazy. And then with the sponsor deals and all these things. Yeah, that was insane.
Because I'm just looking at the magnitude, right? 260 million people in Indonesia. Number one
Yeah,
love is football, of course. And let's talk about
yeah,
the Suzuki Cup, because you started to show the region that you were a real player, a quality player
yeah.
in the Suzuki Cup. Which year was it that you had a breakout year? Was it 2010,
10.
right? It was a 10
Yeah,
when Indonesia went all the way to the finals,
finals. Yeah,
right? Describe to me, share what was the experience like, because was that your first Suzuki Cup?
that was my first Suzuki Cup. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it
because
was my first one.
you had to also contest with the likes of Bang Pamungkas and also Christian Gonzalez, right, in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. It was. Yeah, that were we were the three strikers, and there was one more guy. Was a younger guy, but yeah, it was already a big thing in the beginning because it was the very first time they naturalized a player, and that was
Offside.
Gonzalez.
Yeah.
So it was the very first time. So everybody was like, "Oh, well, what's going on?" And then it was me, where everybody first said, when I was playing in Pasem, "Oh, this guy cannot play. He's just a poster boy." Um, and there I was lucky enough to show that I could really play football, and that just turned my life upside down. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's when you truly became a star, right? When you look at the Suzuki Cup, which is your best memory?
Yeah, I think the best memory is from the first Suzuki Cup.
Yeah, whichever Suzuki Cup you played. What was your one memory that will stay with you forever?
Yeah, I think it's my debut. My
Yeah,
debut against Malaysia.
Malaysia, right?
Yeah, I think. I mean, the Malaysia scored the first goal, and it was me losing the ball. So I was like, "Oh no, it's not gonna happen in our own GBK against Malaysia.
Yeah,
I'm losing the ball." And then there was the 1-1. What was an own goal, but it was my run movement to the first post turned into an own goal, and then finish it off with a goal against Malaysia and beating them 5-1.
yeah.
I think it was a great experience.
Let's talk about what came next, because from Persema, you
Hmm.
moved to Thailand, to Chonburi, because there
Yeah,
were some stuff that was happening in Indonesia. I think that's when the breakaway league came, and it was a huge mess, and
yeah,
you were not paid. I believe you're not being paid
yeah.
for over 6 months,
7 months.
yeah, 7 months,
Yeah,
and then you had a baby on the way as well.
yeah,
How hard was it for you then to deal with life and of course football?
yeah. I was just scared of the craziness. The two leagues going on. Then that they threaten players like, okay, if you move to the other league, we will ban you from the national team. You could never play for the national team. And then with the FIFA coming in as well, I was like, oh, I think I have to leave. This is the time to leave, because if FIFA will give a sanction or anything, I'm stuck. So at that time I moved to Thailand, and that was a great experience for me as well. It was because I always wanted to play on a higher level, and a highest level as possible. And I think Thailand was a great move for me at that time.
You ended up in Chonburi. How did that opportunity come about?
Trials,
Yeah. Okay.
trials. Yeah, I went first to BEC Tero.
Okay.
I went there for trial. Went good, and then my grandma passed away
Okay.
while having a trial, and then I said, okay, I will go back to Holland to go to my grandma's funeral. So I went back, dropped out of that trial, and then I had after the funeral, I went back to Thailand again to have a trial with Chonburi. Made it all the way. They signed me. First game of the league against BEC Tero, and scoring the 1-0. So
Nice one.
yeah.
I just want to take at this point, Bahaki Kaizan, he's also watching this live. He said, Irfan Bachdim, hello, he says.
Hey, yes, this is a good guy. I'm so happy to see him always. And he was one of the first guys I've met in Persija
Oh yeah, okay,
when
because
he was playing in Persija.
he's based in Thailand now. He plays for
Yes.
Prachap, and yeah, he says hi. Let's talk about your time.
Yes. Hello, back.
Let's talk about your time in Chonburi, because it was not good, was it? Because you didn't have the best of times.
No, I started in the beginning of the season, half of the season. Second half, they benched me, but they had a sister club. They had a club in the second league as well, what was owned by Chonburi.
Sriracha, right?
And Sriracha, and they were about to relegate. So they asked me and Boskovic, I was on the bench, and as a foreigner, would you like to go there to save the club as well, to save them from relegation? So I took that opportunity to play again. And with Boskovic, we were lucky enough to help the club and let them in the second league in Thailand.
When you look at your time in Thailand, could you have done things better, you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
What led you down? Or was it your mind frame at the time, or your attitude towards the game, the place? Because it's not easy to go from wherever you were in Indonesia to Chonburi. Chonburi, with all due respect, it's not an easy place to live as well.
To Chonburi, for me, was fine. I mean, with 40 minutes you're in Bangkok, with 45 minutes you're in Pattaya. So the place was really fine. There's nothing wrong with the place. It was more my mentality. I could have done more. I could have invested more in myself, going to the gym, do some extra training for myself, because I had the time. But I was too busy discovering Thailand, going to Bangkok, going to Pattaya, do the sightseeing, because you're in a part of the world you've never been. And I think I could have done more.
I also got a message here from Alim Omar. He says, one of the best forwards in ASEAN. Good to see you on the video, Irfan, he says.
Thank you.
But, to make, of course, you had Chonburi and Sriracha wasn't the best, but what really happened, the next move was quite good. You moved to Japan.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Right? It
was amazing.
You went for Kofu, and this was because you had a relationship, someone from Chonburi, right? The international director.
Yeah.
He then asked you whether would you like to move to Japan.
Yeah, true.
Talk us through that.
Because, at that time, somebody, like you said, somebody in the management, Japanese guy, worked for Chonburi. And Japan wanted to work together with Indonesia and give Indonesian talents the chance to develop them in Japan. So I was really lucky. I went first on a trial with Shakir Sulaiman. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. I had the chance to sign.
Shakir, the Singapore player?
No, it's Indonesian. Shakir Sulaiman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he where did he come from? He was playing in which team in Indonesia?
At that time, he's from Aceh. I don't know exactly what team he played for in Indonesia.
Okay, and you made it, right?
Yeah, I made it.
How did that happen? I mean, you were going from Thailand. How would you compare? At that time, Wanfred Kofu were in J2, right? If I'm not wrong.
No. Kofu was in J1.
J1, okay. And what was the level like? It's definitely a step up then for you.
The level was crazy. I have to be honest as well, because it was also more a marketing set from the club to put me there. It was more marketing, like, okay, we have Indonesian, so we can get some marketing from the Indonesian people. So I have to be honest with that. If it were pure my qualities, I might not have made it.
Okay.
So that was Kofu. That was really tough. The level was so high. Living in Kofu was also really difficult because it's a small town. Nobody spoke English. I didn't have a translator at the club. It was just, and after three months, I called my brother. I said, no, I wanna go. I mean, it's not nice living here. It was a different culture, a culture I was not used to. I've never heard of, never read anything about it. So it was really hard for me.
It's
And then
amazing
my brother said, no.
it's amazing how candid you are, because you said that it was a marketing move. Not many players would admit that he made a move because it was a marketing tool, but it shows that you're quite an honest honest bloke, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, no, it's just Japan is just such a high level. And my brother said at that time, hey, don't give up now, because maybe something interesting will come. And that came at the end. It's J2, Consadola Sapporo,
Yeah.
who took me also with a bit of marketing, but I started to play there. I was on the bench all the games. A coach who really believed in me and gave me a lot of opportunities. Only then it's football again. And then the coach gets fired who really likes you. And you get another coach with a different mentality. And then it started to get hard again for me.
What was the biggest difference in Japan, did you think, from maybe your time in Holland and Indonesia? I'm sure you worked with a lot of coaches by now. What was the biggest difference in Japan?
The way of playing. The way of playing was different. And I know discipline from Holland, but Japan is next level discipline. I've never seen anything like it. Like, it's a whole different world. The discipline.
Tell us more, because it's really interesting. Because a lot of people watching, they know that Japan is a powerhouse in Asia. Now they are becoming a global powerhouse. Is this the discipline that a lot of people talk about but don't really know? Now you've experienced it firsthand rather, and maybe you can share that a bit more in detail with us. What do you mean by that? The discipline they have.
Yeah. Well, let me start with just daily life. If you walk through Japan on the streets, you don't have a lot of trash bins, but you will almost never see plastic or anything trash on the floor. And one day I was walking in the city, and I saw a piece of plastic on the floor. It was not my piece. I don't know who put it there or dropped it accidentally. But there was an old woman who picked it up, got her bag. Out of her bag, she got another plastic bag. She put it in that plastic bag, make a knot in it, put it in her bag, and probably she will throw it away in her house or when she will find a trash bin. And then I was like, whoa. Because it's an unwritten rule in Japan to eat on the street, but I didn't know, so I was eating a snack, and I was like, okay, I have my trash, where I have to put it. There were no trash bins, and I was like, how is the city so clean if there are no trash bins? And that was something. And then I started to experience the players in the respect. First of all, the respect they have for older people is crazy. Maybe a bit too much, if you ask me.
Really?
But it has its charm.
Why is it too much?
When I was playing in Kofu, the training started 10 o'clock. A young guy just runs on the field like it's 10 seconds, maybe a bit late. So we are standing in a circle. The coach do his talk. Okay, we're going to start our training. So we go. And at that time, Koki, who played for Celtic, he gets the ball and shoots the ball full in the stomach of the young guy.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And he beat him up. And I was like, I came in between and I tried to separate. And he said, Irfan, go away. He was the only one who spoke English because he played this sport. Go away. You don't understand this. Go away. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And what is the young guy doing? In Holland, if you will fight, this young guy will fight back.
Yeah.
But what this guy did, he only said, "Gomen nasai, gomen nasai," and he said, I'm sorry in Japanese, and he bowed for him. And I was like, whoa, is he crazy? I will, if somebody will do this to me, I will at least fight back.
Yeah.
And then I spoke with Koki, and I said, why was this? He said, yeah, he was late. I said, what do you mean he's late? He came 10 seconds. We were on the field. He was there on the field. He just ran to us. He said, no, Effie, you don't understand the Japanese culture. You have to have respect for the older people. You cannot be late. And then I was like, whoa, this is some next level. Next level. Yeah.
It's the first time I'm also hearing this.
Yeah, and that is about the respect. But then we're having the discipline, what I have experienced in Sapporo. We will train in the morning at 10 o'clock. So you will come around 9. You will have a shower there. You can go into the gym, do your pre-workout before you enter the field, and train at 10 o'clock. So I thought, like, okay, I come early. I was before 9.
You didn't want to get beat up.
No, I was before 9. And I looked into the gym, and I saw our captain, and he's 37, Kawai. He's 37. and he's already in the gym doing his exercise. And I was like, wow, well, okay, that's good. I go take a shower, go into the gym, go on the field, do my thing. And then after the training session, he will run for 20 minutes around the field. The same guy, 37 years old. He will run for 20 minutes on the field. I was like, okay, I take a shower. I go back inside. I finish my shower. He goes back into the gym. And I was like, Kawai, you train so much. You're old. Do you have to do this many? He said, yeah, if I want to play longer, I have to invest in myself. I was like, wow. Okay, he's finished. Or I'm finished. I leave. He's still in the gym. Came home, and I was like, damn, I forgot something. And it was around 3. Normally, you finish training around like 12-ish. It was 3 o'clock. I was like, well, I go back to pick it up. I go back, and who's in the gym? The same guy. And I went to him and said, Kawai, are you still training since I left? He said, no, I went because there's like a lounge room where they will relax.
Yeah.
And then there's this tank you can lay in. It's the oxygen chamber.
Yeah.
He will go there, have a rest, have his lunch. And then he said, no, I do my session again at 3 o'clock. So he just started his session at 3 o'clock. And then I was like, whoa, this guy is 37 years old and still working this hard. And it was not just him, man. It was everyone who worked really hard. But he was just really extreme. And now King Cuts, who's 52 and still playing.
Kazuyoshi Miura. Now we know why.
Explains why, yeah.
So did you at any point did you feel guilty for not training as hard as them?
No, because I think it's also part of their culture where work comes first and then family.
Yeah.
Where for me it's first family and then it's work. So I worked hard. I know I worked hard. I didn't work hard like him, but I did I was satisfied with the work I did. So I didn't feel guilty.
How would you sum up your time in Japan, both the clubs? How would you sum it up?
It's a great experience. Football wise, I've learned a lot. I've never been that fit when I was there. It's just next level. You can't compare with Indonesia. This is really European way, and it's football wise. It was really good. It was really nice.
The next move was quite interesting because you came back to Indonesia and you came back to a team called Bali United, right?
Yeah.
And when you talk about Bali, nobody really knows Bali for football. But in the last couple of years, Bali football or Balinese football has come to the forefront. Now, the whole of Southeast Asia, maybe even Asia, they understand how big football is in Bali. Maybe for those people who watching this thinking Bali is a place for maybe relaxation or the resort.
To serve.
Tell us about the football culture in Bali.
Yeah, it was funny because at that time when I came, Bali football was not that big. They played the season before. They end up on the ranking list, I think, on the 10th position or 12th. So it was not that big, but they were really professional in what they did management-wise. And that's what I saw on Instagram, on YouTube. And that's something what triggered me there. I was like, okay, this is a club who has a vision, who want to achieve something in the future. And that explained my move to Bali. And yeah, that year we had just a great team. We had to become champion, but in my opinion, what was taken away from us. But that is what made Bali.
Let's talk about that because you were leading the table. You're by far the best team, but you did not win the league. Maybe tell us what happened there.
Yeah, at that time, Bayangkara, who became that year champion, they played a game against Mitra Kukar.
Yeah.
They had a player, Sissoko. I mean, everybody knows Sissoko.
Yeah.
Who should have been suspended, who was suspended the game before. But like in every game, before the game starts, you get a list. on the list heads with the referee can see, okay, this player is suspended, this one is suspended, this has this many yellow cards. And Sissoko could play, where Bayangkara was like, no, he got a red card. He still have one more game to sit out. So he's not allowed to play. But the PSSI gave him only the sanction from one game. He's suspended. So he could play that game. I mean, it was on the letter. It was all official. They play the game, and they draw. They draw the game. And after that happened, we were leading the table. And they complained, went to the PSSI, and somehow they got the 3 points. What made them champion?
Because I had Simon McManamy maybe sometime last week on the show as well. We talked about Bayangkara and how he took a team that nobody actually knew and then got the championship. But let's, you made, like you just said at the start of the show, you made Bali your home now. You could have gone to Jakarta, you could have gone to anywhere, but why Bali?
Yeah, Bali for me, it's, I'm not the youngest anymore. I've traveled so much. My kids are getting older, so it was really time to search for a home. And Bali was just the best way, the best place where we as a family fit and where we liked it. And then with also the opportunity to play for Bali United, where I thought they will have a good management or what they do. So yeah, that all together made Bali my home.
2 years gone. Now you've moved to a new club, PSS Sleman. When you look back at your time in Bali, why did you have to move? Because you've made Bali your home, and why are you moving? Because it's interesting. I was following Bali United on Instagram or Twitter or something, and then there was a fan that said that someone else took your number. Your jersey number. And then they were speculating, is Irfan moving or not? But maybe explain to us why with this move, is it that you've come to the end of the road with Bali or you wanted a new experience?
No, I had 1 more year contract with Bali, but last season I didn't play much. I mean, you have to be lucky also with the coach. Does he like you? Does he like the way you play? Well, now I think we are fair enough. We could say he didn't like the way I was playing, so he benched me a lot, and he thought this was just a big miscommunication. He thought I will leave because I was not satisfied, but I still had a year contract, so he didn't really focus on me anymore. And then we just talked like, okay, what are your plans with me? Do you really want to have me? Do you think? Wait, Sasi. What do you want from me? And then he said like, I think, for you, it's better to find a new club so you can play more, you can build on your future, you can go to the national team because, it's not good to sit on the bench here with me. And I just wanted to be honest. So that is what separated our ways.
Because let's talk about PSS Sleman because I tell you what, a couple of years ago, I organized a few friendly games there with Santos and Fulham. So the guys from Fulham, when they played against the local team, their fans are amazing. They probably have one of the best fans in the world, right?
Crazy, yeah.
The tifo and everything, the way they do stuff. Even the guys from Fulham in England, they said that they've never seen anything like that in their lives. So tell us, was that one of the reasons why you went there, or because Jogja is not a bad place to live? It's a nice city. Mm-hmm. And did you have other offers? Did you want to go back to Jakarta? How did this come about?
Yeah, I had a lot of offers. A lot of clubs wanted to have me. But first of all, I will never play for the fans because then I will choose to go to a Bandung or a Persija. Mm-hmm. So, it's nice to have good fans. But I always wanted to play in a team where I think I fit in. Where I have my teammates, where I know, okay, they are willing to work really hard. And with a coach who has the same vision as I have. Back then they had a Spanish coach who really wanted to have me. And I knew some players there who are playing. And it were all really young guys. I think our youngest is 17 years old, wow. 17, 18 years old. But with potential. And I was like, for me, this is the chance to help, again, a smaller club with a lot of young guys and make them grow. So it was just a challenge for me. I mean, it's easy to go to a big club and, play for the championship, but yeah, I don't know. For me, I always like to help others, like the young guys, and achieve something with them, with hard work and with good football. So that's what made my choice to go to PSS.
You are now 31 years old. You already got about 39 caps for Indonesia. I'm pretty sure that you have your sight on the Suzuki Cup that's coming up as well. Do you still harbor dreams of playing for the Timnas again?
Yeah, of course. I was lucky enough to play also with Simon, the qualifications that I was called up. I still believe in my own qualities. And I still think I can help the national team. So yeah, that's why I'm really sad that this all happens. Of course, the situation we are in, but yeah, if possible, I really would like to go back to football again and go to the national team and get an AFF Suzuki Cup trophy.
What's next for Irfan? Because it's the time of your life where you start thinking about the future. What would you like to do after football?
After football, yeah, like I said, I want to do something with kids, with academy, start an academy, and do it like how it's done in Europe. Maybe start a league with the kids. Not specific to become a coach, but more help to develop an academy, a youth system. What can make us as Indonesia, a country, grow with soccer.
Did you ever thought of getting into acting? Because there's a very...
Acting, no.
No?
No chance, no.
Okay, good. All right. I wish you the very best. Thank you so much for your time. It was really, really nice talking to you. I think
Yes, good to talk to you.
We really understood what Irfan Bachdim is all about. A lot of people have sent some very positive comments on that. And
that's nice.
Sorry about yesterday because my internet was not working. I was really looking forward to this chat yesterday.
No worries, no problem at all.
All right.
Sorry for the loud. My kids are here, and my wife is cooking at the moment, so it's a bit loud. But
that's okay. It was a
thank you.
Real pleasure talking to you. Hopefully, we can get you on the show sometime in the future as well.
Yes, let me know.
So all of you watching this at home, thank you so much for joining us. If you like more such interviews, I have a show on Channel News Asia called Sports Talk on the weekend. So join me there. Otherwise, thank you, Irfan. Thank you so much and all the best.
Yes, thank you.
Stay safe.
And if Bahaki is still watching, regards to his family.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, see you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.